Good morning and greetings to one and all present here. I'm happy to welcome you all to the third day of our faculty development program. Albert Einstein once said that the more I learn, the more I realize. How much I don't know. This observation holds true not only for science but also for English studies. Every day we are discovering new things about language and literature. There is no end to what we can learn. I'm filled with excitement for today's learning opportunities and new perspectives will gain. Let us begin the session by seeking the divine's presence through prayer. I invite Mrs. J.T. Vincy Mabel, Assistant Professor of English, to lead us in prayer.
Let's bow our heads in the presence of the Lord. Our loving Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for your ways in which you provide for us all. For your protection and love, we thank you. Seeking your guidance and wisdom as we begin this program, help us to focus our hearts and minds now on what we are about to learn. Lord, we ask that you would bless every person who has gathered here today. We pray that this program would be a time of learning, growth, and fellowship for all of us. Help us to listen to one another with open hearts and minds. Inspire us by your Holy Spirit as we listen and try. Please give us the strength and courage to follow your will and to use the gifts and talents that you have given us to make the positive difference in the world. We ask all this in the precious name for Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, ma'am. Scriptures provide hope and inspiration for us each day. So let me call upon Mrs. J. Christy Lydia Jansi, Assistant Professor of English, to read the verses from Bible.
Today's Bible portion is taken from Psalm 77, 14 to 20. You are the God who performs miracles. You display your power among the peoples. With your mighty arm, you redeem your people, the descendants of Jacob and Joseph. The waters saw you, God, the waters saw you and writhed. The very depths were convulsed. The clouds poured down water, the heavens resounded with thunder. Your arrows flashed back and forth. Your thunder was heard in the whirlwind. Your lightning lit up the world. The earth trembled and quaked. Your path led through the sea, your way through the mighty waters. Though your footprints were not seen, you led your people like a flock by the hands of Moses and Aaron. Here ends the lesson.
Thank you, ma'am, for the Bible verses. A genuine smile of welcome can take a bad day into a good one. It is crucial to extend a heartfelt greeting to all who gathered here. Therefore, I would like to invite Dr. J. Mary Stella, Research Guide and Assistant Professor of English, to deliver the welcome address.
Good morning to all. It's my immense bliss to be in front of you all this morning to deliver the welcome speech. My first bunch of thanks goes to Almighty, whose omnipresence has helped us begin this morning with peace. We are honored to have Dr. Jawahar Samuel, principal of our college, with us today, despite his tight schedules. We welcome you, sir. A smile costs less than electricity, but brings more light. My next welcome goes to the man who holds such a smile always and who wholeheartedly welcome our secretary, Mr. Prem Rajasingh, who is here amidst us to motivate and guide us. I welcome you, sir. I welcome Professor Jude Livingston, HOD, PG Department of English, Organizing Secretary of this meeting. He is a man of dynamism and departmentalism. I welcome you, sir. Then I would like to welcome the renowned mobile encyclopedia of our department, the multifaceted woman of our college, Dr. Yambula Hemalata, Assistant Professor of English, a research head and guide, NSS coordinator, then a convener of Faculty Development Program, for her precious presence in this meeting. I welcome you, ma'am. I extend my cordial welcome to our chief guest, Dr. Pravina, Assistant Professor of English at the College of Women, Chennai, who have generously agreed to share their expertise with us. I welcome you, ma'am. I would like to welcome our organizing committee members for their efforts. Welcome you, members. I'm extremely happy to welcome all the faculty members of various colleges for this program. Finally, I welcome one and all gathered here for this program. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. J. Mary Stella. With great pleasure, I invite Mrs. K. Niveta Liz Gloria, Assistant Professor of English, to take the stage and introduce our esteemed chief guest, Dr. J. Pravina, Assistant Professor of English at Roche College, whose presence honors this gathering.
What more could a student wish for than the honor of addressing her mentor in an esteemed academic forum like this? A very good morning to one and all. With profound pride and gratitude, I introduce Dr. Pravina, Assistant Professor of English at Roche College for Women, Chennai. As her student, I'm privileged to witness her passion for education and her commitment to the students' success. With an impressive 16 years of teaching experience, Dr. Pravina has contributed significantly to the academic community. She has coordinated and conducted Business English Certificate course for students, acted as a judge in various schools and organizations, and served as a resource person in schools and colleges. Her commitment extends to organize state-level and national-level workshops and conferences. Notably, she initiated the Silver Tongue course, which focuses on effective communication strategies in English. Dr. Pravina's dedication is further evident in her co-authorship of Technical English Workbooks 1 and 2, aligning Anna University syllabus for Chennai and Tirunelveli. A prolific researcher, she has published 14 articles and presented in various seminars and conferences. As an ELT specialist, Dr. Pravina guides 4 research scholars, 2 of whom have submitted their thesis. Beyond academia, she serves as the coordinator for the Youth Red Cross Wing at Ethiraj College. Her outstanding contribution to society through Youth Red Cross earned her the Valimai Tamilachi Award from Tamilachi Tangapandian in Dubai, is a testament to her dedication and service. So, on this special occasion, as a proud student, I extend a cordial invitation to Dr. Pravina to enlighten the academicians with her insights on Kalapani narrative. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Niveta. Ma'am, it's your time. You can start.
Yes. Can I share the PPT now? Is my PPT visible?
Visible.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Good morning, everyone. Here I'm going to discuss about the topic Kalapani narratives crossing the sea. See, when you see this topic, you would have got multiple thoughts in your mind. See, Kalapani, recently we have got one Netflix series, and we had one Malayalam movie with Kalapani. The name of Kalapani will be there. And there is one cellular jail in Andaman Nicobar with the name Kalapani. Different occasions, different types, Kalapani has been used. But one thing is similar in everything. That means oppression. Okay, but in literature, Kalapani narratives have got a different connotation, which I'm going to explain it now. And this is an unforgotten and a silenced generation, which I would like to bring it to your notice. And Kalapani narratives, which means the crossing the sea. And I will explain all these things in my PPT, which is following with Kalapani, a historical overview. What is this black water and what is this Hinduism all about? See, black water, it is not the literal black water which here explains about. Here, they explain about the metaphorical content of the black water. Why they say it as black water? Because crossing the Kalapani was a taboo in the Hindu religion. According to the Vedic system, that is in the books of the Brahmins, they have got one Dharma Sutra where they have got one rule that Hindus should never cross the sea. So that was a taboo over there. And when they crossed, they felt like their reincarnation will get affected. So reincarnation will get affected. That means afterlife that will be affected. So for that purpose, these people didn't even want to cross the sea. So that was a taboo. So that is the metaphorical content here, which says that it is a black water. It is not the literal one. Kindly understand this. Now, going to the historical overview, now I'm going to tell you about the state of India and the state of Fiji and Caribbean, which I have taken it for the consideration. So the discussion I have taken is for Fiji as well as the Caribbean. So state of India, how was the India when colonization happened and how the Kalapani taboo happened over there? And how was the state of Western countries at that time? What is this Kalapani actually? Okay, that is what we are going to see now. So the state of India. So what happens is like they are moving internally, that is like migrating domestically from one state to the other. So this was happening in India, almost in all parts of the states because of famine, drought, and some people want to earn more for their livelihood. That is where they want to change from one place to the other. So this was happening. And they even crossed the sea and went to Nepal. Okay, so this was happening. And simultaneously, in the Western countries, what was happening is there was slavery system. Okay, they were having African slaves everywhere and they had their workers over there and those people were utilizing their expertise for that. So when everything was happening here, these people wanted to end. That means the African slave started to protest against this colonization and they want to end the slavery. So the government initiated and the Anti-Slavery Act came into being. So simultaneously, the migration is also happening in India, and at the same time, the slave trade is getting abolished. So at that time, the Britishers were hunting for the laborers. They cannot have their own indigenous group as workers for all the time because they are opposing them, they are questioning them. They are all their own people. When our own people question us, we will have some sort of speculation that why these people are asking us, and we may go with them. So here, when we have some slave system or else some contract system, then we can make these people work under us. That was the mindset Britishers were having. So they were thinking for a strategy to happen. And that is where they have colonized several countries for that matter. And one among that is India. So when they were seeing what these people of India were doing, at that time, they saw that these people were migrating from one place to the other for the livelihood. So that was a spark for them. So why can't we use this? That is what the question of the British. You know how they are, how their mindset is, how they want to loot the riches of any country for that matter. So the rituals in India was there on one side. Okay, and these people, after going for Nepal and all, when they want to come here, there was a purification process. Purification process in the sense, when a Hindu crosses Kalapani, okay, when he wants to come back to India, he has to cleanse himself, okay, with reciting 1008 times of Gayatri Mantra, and 3 years he has to fast, and some procedures for taking bath, and some or the other restrictions will be there for the next 3 years once after he comes to his own country. So this is like a taboo for them, okay? Kalapani taboo. They were afraid of the God's punishment and everything was there, okay? So simultaneously, the Britishers wanted to lure these people into one system they have planned about, okay? So this is what is the historical background which is happening behind this indenture system. So now I have used the word called indenture system. What is that word called indenture? Indenture means contract, okay? Contract basis, a labor system. One place to the other place, these people are being taken and they are going to be presented as a laborers in their own place. How can we lure them? That is the strategy which these people were playing. And what happens in India is, just because of that Kalapani taboo, they were avoiding even the maritime trade. Maritime trade is like they can earn some more money through that maritime trade, but they were avoiding it because God might punish them. But some Hindus, they were we can do all those procedures later and we can face the punishment. And that's where they were after wealth and they had that maritime trade. So Britishers were analyzing everything. Some people are having this mindset and some people are having that mindset. That was the overview of these people. Okay, so what happens is they wanted to utilize this. They want to have a minute line into it and they want to go into it and they want to capture them. So there was one first Anglo-Burmese war which happens, and the Bengal army was ordered to go to Chittagong. Okay, the Bengal army was ordered to go to Chittagong. So at that time, there was no bullock-carts and sea voyage was a taboo. And what they did is they had to do they had to complete the order. So what they did is they chose only the land march. Kindly have this point. They didn't choose the sea voyage, but they chose only the land march. So this is the thing which was happening in India. So there were some people were ritualistic and they don't want to get the punishment of God. Some people want to go and do some procedures to rectify themselves to enter into the temple. So this is the thing. Okay, so what these Britishers told them is they can appoint some akritis, A-K-R-A-T-I-S, akritis, to lure these people. Okay, how did they lure the people? They were telling them they will take the Ganga water, okay, the Ganges, okay, the water inside the Ganges. They can take the cauldrons of water and they can place it inside the ship so that their reincarnation will never get affected. So that wherever they go, the cauldrons will have the Ganges water and their reincarnation will never get affected. So since they have the holy water inside their land, that reincarnation and afterlife effect, everything was there inside their country. They felt that their country is the richest and the blessed nation from God. So they want that Ganges to be with them everywhere. So Britishers thought like they can lure these people. So at the same time, they had some political problems in India. So what are all the political problems that we are going to see it in the push and pull factors of the indenture system in India? What are all the political problems? The first one I have told you is the Indian peasants started to have internal migration. And the next one is Karl Torabulli, a poet, coined the term called coolitude. Okay, the negritude to coolitude. Coolitude means coolies. In India, they are being considered as workers. We are giving them due respect because they are all workers. But in the plantation, they are being called as coolie, but actual connotation is dog. Okay, they are being considered as dog. So negritude to coolie. Negritude is African trait and coolitude is dog. Okay, so this is what is happening. Okay, and the caste exploitation, changes in land revenue, unemployed peasants, escalation pressure in land, socially oppressed women and widows. These are the push and pull factors of the indenture system in India to get effect in India. Okay, so the first one is caste exploitation. Especially the women got affected with the caste exploitation. the upper caste people, the lower caste people, everyone had rigid rules for women. They had to be inside the four walls. They cannot come out and voice out their opinions because of the caste system, because they are women. Okay, so this is also another exploitation which happened, and that made the women to go for indenture system. The next one is changes in the land revenue. Permanent hereditary rights are given to talukdars. This is the main concern for these people to move out of our India. So the British, after the first war of Indian independence, they made this act, that is the permanent hereditary rights of the land is given to the talukdars. So which turned the landlords to be, the talukdars became the landlords, and the tenants are worked at will. That was the culture over there. So the strata of the Indian society is like the high caste, low caste, landlords, landless lords. Everyone got affected because of this in push and pull factors of the Indian system. So they all preferred this Indian indentured system because it is contract basis, 1 year contract, 5 years contract, 10 years contract. If they are working in the other land for 10 years, they, wholesome land with acres can be given to them. That was the promise given by the Britishers to the indentured community. So this is what happening in the India, and this is the push and pull factors of the indentured system in India. So this is what is the main factor which made these people to accept for the indentured system in India. And sometimes if the people are not willing, some people are ritualistic, as I have already told you, some people don't want to go. So for them, what they have done is they have kidnapped, especially the women, especially the meek men, everyone were kidnapped, and they are being parceled and sent to the migrated place, that is the plantation colony. So now I'm using the word called plantation colony. What is this plantation colony? Sugar plantation colony. So it is being owned by the French, British, and the Spanish, and that will be like the sugar cane will be grown, and these people has to help for the growth of the sugar cane. And how long they have to work is like 9 hours they have to work, and 5 hours on Saturdays they have to work, and on completion of the work they'll be given 1 shilling. And if the full task is not being completed on that particular day, they have to pay as fine, that is 10 shilling and 1 pound has to be paid if they have not completed for 1 day. So this is the main reason these people accepted, but at the same time regretted for their own opinion. So when these people came to know about all these things, people started to say that okay, this indenture system is not working out, so I don't want to do this, I want to quit it. So if they have the feel of quitting it, they are not allowed to do it. They are locked up inside a room. They were not given any food. They were not given anything for that matter. And that is where they are made to accept whatever the indenture system said to them. Okay. So this is the thing. And the next one is indenture, the new slavery. 1879 received the Fiji Indians. Bridgelal, in his book Girmitiyas, The Origin of Fiji Indians, he said that hereafter the Fiji Indians will be called as Girmitiyas. Okay, Girmitiyas. And the vernacularly, these people are being called as Girmit, G-I-R-M-I-T. And historian P.C. Emmer views indenture as a means that allowed women to emancipate themselves from an illiberal, inhibiting, and very hierarchical social system in India. So for men, it is like it is like a punishment. For women, they thought like they are going to get some freedom. They thought like they are going to be empowered. So this was the thought before people ever see that plantation colony. And acute familial separation. So separation, it's not temporary, it is permanent separation. But actually these people thought like it is going to be temporary separation where they will work and come back to their family. But actually it is like a permanent separation. Okay. And this is what is happening. And the next thing is British want to replace the indigenous group by having this permanent community. Actually, the contract didn't say that these people are going to work for them permanently, but actually the mindset of the colonized people had this in their mind, that this is going to be the permanent community to work for them. Next one is indentured contract. What are all the things which will be in the indentured contracts? Wage rate will be there, working hours will be there, type of work, medical attendance will be there. So everything will be explained, but some are hidden. It's not obvious. Next one is, to our surprise, it is like Calcutta and Madras are the official depot for sending out the indentured immigrants. So we people, Madras, we people had sent the immigrants to the other parts of the world, and Calcutta too played a vital role in this, especially North Indians. Bihar and Uttar Pradesh were sent as an indentured. More than the South Indians, North Indians were sent. And this is what has we can learn from the narratives of the Kalapani. The next one is, we can definitely say that slavery, this is some sort of slavery, but this indenture system is a clever euphemism of slavery. And the next one is suicides. More number of North Indians committed suicide because they cannot adhere to that pain whichever has been inflicted on them. Some people are forced to migrate from one place to the other because some people will be rebels. They would have accepted first, but they would not have accepted first. But when some people are suffering, they would have voiced out. So when these people are being a hindrance to the indentured system, what Britishers did is they collected whole of their family, because they would have infected their thought. That is where the whole of the family is collected and they were sent for the indentured system to the plantation colony. So this is there. And the next thing is, I'm going to say about the diaspora and the indentured diaspora. What is meant by diaspora? Dia means scattered. Okay, it originally started from the dispersion of the Jews. Jasper Jane, in his book Theorizing and Critiquing Indian Diaspora, opines that diaspora is not merely a scattering or a dispersion, but an experience made up of collective and multiple journeys, and an experience about who travels, where, how, and what circumstances. So here, diaspora is like people who willingly want to go for the overseas, and they can return to India anytime for that matter, saying which they have gone for the education purpose, they have gone for the work purpose. So they will come, cleanse themselves because of the Kalapani taboo. They will cleanse themselves and they will be one among them. They won't be treated as an outcast. But here in the indentured system, these people are initially termed as Girmitiyas, or else the indentured community, and then there they are being taken as coolies. Whatsoever caste you may be a high caste person, you may be a low caste person, you may be a peasant, you may be whatever you want, but these people are being treated as same as coolies. And again, when they want to come back to India, they are being termed as outcast. And that is where there is a difference between diaspora studies and indentured diaspora studies. Indentured diaspora studies, many are not looking into it, and I want to make all the scholars and research people who wants to have some empirical research or something or the other, they want to do this indentured diaspora, which is one of my recent study. Okay, indentured diaspora, there the people are unwillingly sent to some other place. Sometimes they are willing, but once after they reach there, if they want to quit in the middle, they can't quit. So that is like a contract. Okay, after the contract, 1 year later, if they go and say, they are being locked up into a room and they are forced to do the work. They will not be given water. They will not be given food. There won't be any person to talk with them. And that is where forcibly they had to accept it. Not only for 5 years, they have to work for 10 years, promising which they will get a land inside that colonized land. Colonized land in the sense they will be lifetime as a worker. There's sometimes in our families also, when a worker comes and works, we will give all sorts of benefits so that that person retains in that house forever. But we will give some liberality. But there, it is not like that. It is like a strict rules are being inflicted on them, and they have to do it. So indentured diaspora is something different. And Anjali Singh, a critic, points out that the departure from India was final for the indentured people, although they did not know it at the time of their departure. So this is what is the happening of the indenture system in India, and this is the indentured diaspora, which we all have to know about it. And the next one is narratives in indenture. Now I have taken 4 books and 1 critical appreciation. So I'm going to explain about the 4 books which I have went through for this discussion. So the first one is Rajendra Prasad's Tears in Paradise. Okay, this person is a 3rd generation descendant of Girmitya and took several interviews and archived his sources in this book. He has got oral life narrative and uses polyphony, and plethora of stories are coupled here. And Rajendra Prasad says about some of the voice, he just narrates. Okay, I will read it. I met some men who asked me if I were interested in work. They promised me to work in Jamaica. I had no idea where Jamaica was. When we went as far as Singapore, we were told we would be going to Fiji. Another Girmitya narrates, there were 4 of us at the depot that I was taken to and offered a job. I was unwilling. I was told that Fiji was near Calcutta and all I need to do was to go there for 6 months. So you could understand the plight of the Girmityas from the 3rd generation descendant of Girmitya. So his name is Rajendra Prasad and his book name is Tears in Paradise. His great grandfather is the first hand indentured person. Okay, he really went through the indenture system, and his great grandfather narrated him many stories, and based on that he has written this in the 3rd person narrative. Okay, so the grandfather is from an Ahir caste, tricked to sail to Fiji along with his cousin. 2 of them went over there. And people often leave their homes for better opportunity, but these people are forced into the labor system. And Prasad's family receives a letter after 20 years. Once after the cousin as well as his great grandfather reaches Fiji, they write a letter that they have joined in the plantation colony. But only after 20 years that letter is being received with 10 pounds, which they wanted to use to dig communal well for their family. Can they use it now? No. So 20 years later they are receiving it. So once they go into the plantation colony, they were given same clothes, like a prisoner clothes they were given, and in the ship itself they have to wear it. And for stealing or some other thing, they are being punished like a frog marching, and they have to apply some black color on their face, and people have to yell at them, mock at them. All sorts of inflictions are afflicted on that people. And this is the background which Rajendra Prasad wants to highlight in his Tears in Paradise. The next one is My 21 Years in the Fiji Island by Totaram Sanadhya. It is not a bit clear, but I'm reading it out. My 21 Years in the Fiji Islands by Totaram Sanadhya. Sanadhya. Okay, Sanadhya. So My 21 Years in the Fiji Island, Totaram Sanadhya, he is the first, he has the first-hand experience with the indenture system. So he has the testimonial narrative. He himself has experienced everything, and he is saying about the indenture system. So he is a Brahmin, and in the age of 17 years he went to Fiji, and it was like 1893 he went there. By 1914 only he came here. So actually he was promised for 5 years, but he stayed there for 21 years. This is one ample example of how hard it is going to be. So in India, he devoted, once after he comes to India, he devoted his time to stop this indenture system along with Mahatma Gandhi, which I will explain it later. He is also tricked by Akrati. He lost his identity and stated as Girmitya, and he has lost his caste. he details the brutalities of the white people in his narrative. And this is a first person narrative. And Girmitiya, Coolie, and Outcast. From Firozabad to Fiji, this is his transformation. Okay. And he lost his father in the age of 11. And he was promised that he will be getting 12 annas a day. And 5 years of indenture is what is his plan. And even he is the first hand person to accept and reject that opinion that I'm not going to be the Girmitiya. So when he opposed the same thing, which I have told you now, the punishment of not giving water and not giving food happened to him literally, and he lost all his health. And that is where he started to accept that he had to work as a coolie here. And what will happen is here also he states about the prison clothes, likewise in Rajendra Prasad's novel Tears in Paradise. And the next thing is he will be given tin jar and plate. Most of the Girmitiyas, once they enter into the ship, they are given tin jar and a plate to have the same communal part. Okay, and in the ship they have a place to live. Okay, that house will be 1.5 feet wide and 6 feet long, and they will throw biscuits and they will say that this is dog biscuits. Okay, and black color, I mean, when the Indians are having black color, okay, when they are in that black color, they are treated so very bad. Okay, they just because their color is black, they are treated so bad and they are made to be humiliated. So the ship sail to reach Fiji, it will take 3 months. Okay, the sea voyage, 3 months and 1 month of steamship voyage. So this is how these people will go. And in the plantation, the house, the structure will be like Sanadhya has told, 12 feet long and 8 feet wide. And these people, for food and provision, they have to pay from their money. So every week they have to pay 2 shilling and 4 pence per week. So all these money will be automatically deducted from their salary and then it will be given to them. So this is Totaram Sanadhya's My 21 Years in the Fiji Island. This is the book, another thing for discussion. Next book I have taken is Peggy Mohan's Jahanjin. Peggy Mohan has got a framed narrative, magical realism, which I will explain it later. Okay, so she is a 4th generation descendant, 4th generation person whose grandmother, here great grandmother, was the first indentured person. So genealogical trip to Caribbean. This person is from Caribbean. The first 2 books are for Fiji and the next 2 books I'm going to say about Caribbean countries. So here I have taken women. Why women? Because Caribbean countries, the Indo-Caribbean people, most of the writers are women and they wrote about the indenture system. Oh, I couldn't find men who has written it, but this person says about the women perspective in the indentured system. Okay, so here she talks about 4 characters. The narrator herself, Dida, okay, she is 110 years old. She speaks Bhojpuri language and she, as an author, helps, I mean, her own mother speaks Bhojpuri language. And she gets the help of her mother to write Bhojpuri because she is a descendant of Bihar and she has to speak Bhojpuri. Since she is from the 4th descendant, she has lost her language. She doesn't have any acquaintance with the Bhojpuri language. Every now and then, for writing Bhojpuri, she had to sought the help of her mother. Okay, her mother is fluent in Bhojpuri and she is helping her. She is explaining about Dida, who is 110 years old, and she is the first generation person to endure this indenture system. So this first generation people refuse to pass the same trauma to the second generation. See, the books which I have taken doesn't have any second generation writers. It has only the first generation and the second generation, the 3rd generation and the 4th generation. So this person is from the 4th generation. Why? Because The second generation doesn't want to have that pain again. The pain was too raw for them to take it out and write. Okay, that is where the second generation didn't even take and write about the indenture system. But the third generation and fourth generation wanted to revisit the trauma which they had in their early years and how their parental hierarchy has suffered. Okay, so here she talks about another character called Sunaria. Sunaria is her own great grandmother, and she, along with Dida, her own friend, they both went as an indentured persons over there. And she recites about one folklore tale, Saranga, which I will explain it later. And here also there is the Dida's character is being explained here. She was married in the age of 7, given birth to a son, Kallu, in the age of 13. Her husband became a domestic migrant, and that is where she had to take care of her son. That is where she chose this indenture system and came to Caribbean. So this is the background of Jahanjin, Peggy Mohan's book. The next one is Coolie Women. Okay, Coolie Women, the Odyssey of the Indentured, Gayatri Bahadur. So she has written this book, and when in the first chapter itself, in the first few chapters, she will show the visual image of her own family. So she will expose it with the visual image, and she is a third generation writer, and she has written it about her great grandmother Sujaria. Okay, and in 1903 she goes to Caribbean and creolizes her name. So reconstruction and deconstruction of the name also occurs here, and this is a painful post-colonial narrative. And Sujaria is also pregnant and she travels alone. She is 27 years old when she was traveling. She is also a Brahmin, but now named as a coolie. She was pregnant for 4 months. She died in the age of 89, that is in 1962, in Caribbean land itself. So this is the long journey of these people. Okay, so now getting into the narratives, this is the critical appreciation of all the 4 books I have taken, and all the 4 books critical appreciation I could see it from this Voices and Silence. This is the 5th book I have taken for the discussion. So again, I want to revisit the books. The first one is Tears in Paradise, My 21 Years in the Fiji Island, Jahanjin, and then the Odyssey of, Coolie Women, the Odyssey of Indenture. Voices and Silence is a critical appreciation of all these 4 books. Now, the first slide for this discussion is Fiji Indians as indentured laborers. Now, we have few things here. One second. The first one is the analysis of the books of the Totaram Sanadia's My 21 Years in the Fiji Land and Rajendra Prasad Tears in Paradise. Here we could see about the statistics is given here from 1879 to 1916. 60,553 Indians arrived in the Fiji depot in Calcutta and Madras. And this is also called as a hyphenated diaspora. What is this hyphenated diaspora? See, hyphenated diaspora is, you could see like Desh and Videsh. It is separated by one hyphen, Desh and Videsh. Desh is our own country and Videsh is the Western country. Wherever we go, that is like migration occurs. And the hyphen makes you to understand that this is the crossing of Kalapani. So what happens is, when you are in your country, when you are going into another nation, this is like you consider it to be an empowerment, but actually it is a disempowerment. So it becomes a hyphenated diaspora studies. So another term for this indentured diaspora is hyphenated diaspora, which makes empoweringly disempowered mindset of these people. They thought like they are going to be empowered. Even the women, even a man, they thought like they are going to be getting empowered with that plantation colony, but actually the final result is disempowerment. So it is empoweringly disempowered with the hyphenated term. Next one is collective trauma. Collective trauma talks about the psychological trauma of these people, stigma of shame. When anyone brutally attacks you, there will be shame that triggers your mindset a lot, and that hurt will never go away from your mindset. So this is what here you could see from Sardars and Columbus of the colonized people. Columbus, the name comes from call number. Okay, they used to call number for the people who are indentured. They are migrated from some other place to here. So they will be calling their number for attendance. And from that route, it came like Columbus. So they all have that collective trauma and associated their own unhappiness with the Narak feeling, N-A-R-A-K, Narak feeling. So what happens is they started to repeat their trauma every now and then. I had this, I had that, this brutality happened to me, that brutality happened to me. So they're revisiting their trauma again and again. Even previous year, they would have visited one trauma, and this year they would visit the same sort of trauma, and they will associate these two, and they will revisit it again and again. That repetition burdened them a lot. But actually, the writing of Totaram Sanadhya and all the third and the fourth generation writers, when they write, that became a cathartic release, so that they get some justification through that. So that it was like a closed land where people cannot see what they are going through. When people came to know about what these people are going through, that became their cathartic release. So it is a collective trauma, and there is people who have rememory. For example, when you take Totaram Sanadhya and also Tears in Paradise by Rajendra Prasad, you could see that they will have a rememory of their own past, and they will write it in their story. So that is the rememory and the marginalized community, where they all have the collective trauma of expressing themselves. So normally we people, when we have some trauma or something, or else some problem or any issue, we want to share with some reliable person who can listen to the trauma which we had. So likewise, these people wanted to voice out their opinions. That is where they and got their supports from the other people. The next one is history and memory. What is the difference between history and memory? History is history of the previous generation is entangled in the present next generation. Okay, so the trauma is passed from one generation to the other generation, and in a way, history is a little bit biased. But when you take Prasad's words, it has been written like, this pangs of separation was the most painful I have ever experienced. This union and separation were so deeply etched that time has failed to diminish the grief that I experienced. Because of this event, I have lost my emotional symmetry. Tears speak in place of words in moments of reflection. He says that very particularly the trauma is internalized. He has lost his emotional symmetry. Kindly understand that they have lost their emotional symmetry. So this level of understanding of memory cannot be biased. Whatever they face, that is what they will write. History can be biased, but memory cannot be. So they rely on the memory, and they write what all happened to their life. The next one is liminal space, crossing over space, heterotopias. So liminal space, the concept was first brought by Homi Bhabha, and Michael Foucault bring the word called heterotopias. Richard Rohr coined the term crossing over space. All these things define one thing, which I would like to read. Liminal spaces like waiting rooms, parking lots, stairwell, rest shops makes you feel weird if you spend too much time in them, because of these places exist for things that come from or after them. Some places will give you a traumatic memory. Some places will make you weird, and that is called as liminal space. When the space is not that much big and you are suffering into that place, it is not only that place matters, it is also your brain. Whatever it says that it is traumatic, it is not nice, that makes some difference. So these people, due to the land issue, they were migrated from one place to the other internally. For example, they would have gone to Calcutta and tea gardens of Assam, and they were doing only that. But now it is like they are going into an alien land where they cannot even come back to their own family. So this liminal space, and especially when you take ship, sea voyage, once they enter into it, can they come out? They have to jump into the sea only. That is where some people, after feeling the pain which they are going to undertake in the plantation, they will jump into the river and commit suicide. So all these things were happening, and when they die within the ship, they will be thrown into the sea. There is no burial rites which has been planned by the Hinduism will occur for them. They will be just thrown into the sea. There is no cremation methods. They won't follow any Hindu rituals or something or the other. They will just throw them into somewhere and then they will go out. They won't even care for their body. And the next one is punishment for Kalapani, Dukh and Kashta. Punishment for Kalapani. Already I have mentioned you, people have a taboo that God will punish them if they are going to cross the Kalapani. Already I have told you what is the main message between Kalapani, how the rituals are very rigid, and what are all the procedures they have to follow. Everything I have explained you. So the punishment for Kalapani, what they have thought is, God will definitely punish them if they go for the plantation. And once one other conscious mind says that, yes, I'm going for the betterment of my family, I'm doing this for this, and they will justify it and they will seek the forgiveness of the God through their words. What happens here is they will always, Sanadhya in his book, Sanadhya in in my 21 years in the Fiji island, he shares one word, one sentence, that is, what was 5 years in front of 14? I don't know how many of you get this point. What was 5 years in front of 14? This he takes from Ramayana. Okay, Ramayana, Ram was exiled for 14 years. So he underwent subjugation for 14 years and he was in exile. He accepted everything and he went for that. But here Sanadhya says that I have accepted only for 5 years. Why can't I endure? So all these push and pull factors they give for themselves, they pat themselves and do their work because there is no distractions for them. They have got only the scriptures. And I forgot to mention that men took all the scriptures, Hindu scriptures in their hand, but women didn't take any scriptures because they thought like assimilation and acculturation is their companion hereafter. So they wanted to go away from India like anything, but men wanted to have the scriptures in their hand. So through that, they come to know that in Ramayana, Ram has underwent some exile for a betterment and he has accepted, and at last he won everything. Likewise, people thought like they too will have a victory over this indentured system. So punishment for Kalapani. Another punishment they get it from this Kalapani is most of the people get diseases in the ship. The first disease is typhoid, dysentery, cholera. The main disease for them is loss of caste, and the seasickness was the main illness for them that haunted their brain. In 1859, 82 immigrants died of cholera. And in 1863, 124 died in the same route. So this happens like anything. So they plan to go and work, but somehow their body is not cooperating. Even British doctors were there in the ship, but they couldn't identify this onboard Indian sickness. They couldn't even identify and they couldn't even rectify that. The next one is J.W. Burton's remark on Narak. So J.W. Burton is a Christian, okay? And why he has used that word Narak is, in the Christian theology, there is a word called hell. And hell is being translated like Narak in Hindi. So what purpose he is using is, indenture system is like a Narak. Okay, Christian people, Christian missionaries for that matter, they tried to help the indentured Indians, but at the same time, when they give some conversion or something, people didn't accept it. They were against it. But J.W. Burton remarks this indenture system as Narak. And for this, Sanadhya says that you should never have told that this situation is Narak. Narak is a place where sinners are punished. We are not sinners. We are all victimized. We are all here undergoing all sorts of problems under the rule of the colonizer. So he told that it has to be replaced with kasht, Kasht, so that it means like suffering. Okay, and then he wants to have duk also. Duk means it is like mental illness, and atyachar means physical violence, domestic violence or physical violence. So he wants to replace this narak term, and he wants to have duk, kasht, and atyachar. Hope this is understandable. And now we are going to Jahaji Bai and Jahaji Behens in the Caribbean island. So Jahaji Bai means ship brothers. Jahaji Behens means ship sister. Ship sisterhood and ship brotherhood. So people started to have new relationship in the Caribbean island. Okay. Now the analysis of Peggy Mohan's Jahanjin, okay, and Gautra Bahadur's Coolie Women, the Odyssey of the Indenture. So the statistics shows that 1831 to 1922, so 542,045 indentured Indians deported from Calcutta to Caribbean. So the indenture and the spatio-temporal difference. What is the spatio-temporal difference? Space difference. So we cannot say what people have underwent in Fiji is what they will have it in Caribbean. So it is not like that. In Caribbean, it is totally different. These Caribbean people have got a long lineage of slave trading. Once after the slave trade ends, this indentured people are coming over there. So years after they have that subjugation, and they know how to handle these people, and they know how to horribly give them punishment. So indentured system have got a spatial difference, and these people, for example, in Sujaria's case, which you can see it in Gaitra Bahadur's Coolie Women, she enters into the indentured system by 1903. From the moment she goes out of the village of India, and how she has sailed and how she enters into the new world, everything is being explained over there to show the space difference in Caribbean. Okay, the white seamen and the Indian Lascars have called the women to be sluts and shamelessly immoral people. They used them like anything. See, for example, the women would have married one person in the Indian society. She would have got married, and in a legalized way she would have got married. But what happens is, when she enters into the ship, the legalization what she had in India will be taken away, and now she can marry anyone for that matter. Where there is there is one rule inside the ship that the government has declared 10 for 100 men there should be 40 women. So the men ratio will be high and the women ratio will be less. For 100 men it will be 40 women. So this is the ratio, and that is where women's ratio is little bit less in number, and men's ratio is high in number. So women are in great demand in the Caribbean island. So what happens is, these people have been called as sluts because they say that the marriage which has happened in India is not at all possible here. It is not legalized, and what they do now is legalized. They will say like that, but at the same time they can really understand that it is an illegal form of having relationship with plenty of people inside the ship. So this is another spatio-temporal difference which you could see it in Caribbean island. And they make the women like that, but they will call them as sluts and shamelessly immoral people. And measles also breaks out in the ship, and 14 children, and especially 14 people have got the measles, and in that half of the people were children, and they all have died. And mostly this book called Black Atlantic by Paul Gilray, he says that the ship as a living microcultural and micropolitical system in motion. So diplo marriages and everything will happen, politics will happen, husbands will have a fight with each other, and women will have fight with each other. They will have so polygamy and other things. So much of ruckus will be happening in the ship. So this Caribbean people are like Britishers, black people, Chinese, Portuguese, and descendants of plantation. All these people are being clubbed together, and they are being called as the Caribbean inhabitants. Okay, and the next one is interculturalization and imagined community. What is meant by imagined community? It's not a community at all. They want to get imagined that they are some sort of community, because in India they have so much of community and they are represented and identified with one or the other community. But here indenture system cannot be given citizenship, even they are not being considered even, and they want to have at least an imagined community. That is their request. And the next one is interculturalization. Interculturalization, the word is being coined by Edward Brathwaite, and when you take Kuli women for that matter, and Jahanjin for that matter, interculturalization of women predominance than man. Okay, so in the Indian dance, music, dress, and food, there is some interculturalization. For example, Indians borrowed the calypso music of Caribbean land, and they prepared one chutney music where they formulated for their cultural activities. And there is one music called calypso music, and they loved it and they started to dance for it, but they fused these two and prepared one other music. And they stopped, Indians stopped wearing sari in the indentured community, and they started to wear long gagras with long blouses. At the same time, after a few years, what happened is they started to wear frocks till calf length with a belt in the middle. So there was changes continuously happen as they enter into the ship. There were so much of changes happening in a woman, and men were the same, but at the same time women had so much of freedom. They started to earn more money. They had some power in their hand. Earlier in India they didn't have any money in their hand, but here how much ever their life is, they had some money in their life, and that made a difference with women. And language, okay, the creolization, Creole, those people, when they want to talk with the Creoles, they will talk in the Creole language, and when they have their own community, they will talk in the Bhojpuri language. Sometimes they started to get acquainted with the indentured land, especially women. These two people, Peggy Morgan and Gayatri Bahadur, talks in a women's perspective. She says that women started to get attached with the indenture system in the plantation colony, but some problems they had. But in Caribbean, they started to get acquainted with the indenture system because they are starting to get empowered in a disguised way. But at the same time, when you take in the food, okay, dal puri was a famous dish in India. But when they came to Caribbean, what happens is they started to prepare doubles. Doubles means fried rotis in between the rvi channa. And these people stopped working for elaborate meals, ornated meals, which we have it in India. They stopped doing that because they have to wake up by 4 a.m. So they prepared food for the convenience. They had so much of work which they have to complete, because if they didn't perform a day's full task, their money will get detected. And with that fear, they had to go and work in the other places. So interculturalization and imagined community was predominant in the indenture system in Caribbean. Next one is loss of patriarchy and creolization and nostalgia in women. So when we say about the loss of patriarchy, what is this loss of patriarchy? See, Peggy Morgan, in her own words, she says that we already have too many boys. What we need now is girls. Stark departure of lost patriarchy, where in India they demanded only boys. So this is loss of patriarchy. See, many of the men in India, many of the family in India always pressure a women to have only boy baby. Okay, but this is not there in Caribbean country. They will never have any sex discrimination. They won't say that you should have this and that, but they have the freedom of begetting daughters. They love to have daughters. They love to beget daughters, and they love to train the daughters in schools. So loss of patriarchy and the comeback of matriarchy was there in Caribbean. And creolization. Creolization is changing of names. Changing of names. What is this changing of names? Their names are getting changed like anything. See, initially I told you like Columbus, which is called as call numbers. Call numbers means calling the people with number. Here, creolization happens. Their names are completely changed. I have told you about Dida and Sunaria. Those people are from Jahangir, okay, Peggy Mohan's Jahangir. Dida's original name was Parvati, okay, and Sunaria's original name was Janaki, and now their name has been changed. In some places, their what to say, they have their Christian names, and the Indian names will be followed by. For that, Peggy Morgan says, long ago was Sumitra, Ramnalavia, Bulbasia, Usankilia, but now it is Emily, Jean, and Dinah, and now Dawn's Dorothy. Okay, so this is how she explained. Peggy Morgan explains that creolization happens frequently in Caribbean countries. Okay, and then the nostalgia in women. Nostalgia is everywhere, even for a man, even for a woman. There is a nostalgia of getting back to their country. But few people who got back to their country were expelled out like outcasts. And this threatened the women that why we need to go back to India. We will be termed as outcasts. And again, I have to be in the marginalized society. At least here I have lived and I have made some livelihood for myself. And that is what their mindset. And nostalgia is everyone will have a longing for their own family, like how we long for our own parents to be with them and to care for them. Likewise they too have, but at the same time, when the Indians are having rigid rules, they couldn't go into their land. So nostalgia is there every time. Next one is strikes. Strike, what is this strike and how it happened with these people? So one time there was one strike which happened, like 30 Girmithia women on Rarawai plantation who attacked a Columba because he has called one woman Randi, which means prostitute. He was pulled and beaten, non-resistant in Fiji, and burnt the effigy of indenture system. So this was also happening in Caribbean island because strikes are predominant. They started to have that non-resistant act. They didn't even accept for everything. They opposed, but sometimes their regrets are being heard, and most of the time it is not being heard. Next word is mimicking and othering. What is this mimicking and othering? Mimicking is coined by the post-colonial theorist Homi Bhabha, who notes that the colonized subject tries to adapt the mannerisms of the colonizer. He calls it mimicry. See, what is mimicry? We are doing like the other person. That is called mimicry. At the same time, there is another thing you have to know. When you mimic, you are showing how the other people treating you. Okay, how the other people are with you. When you are showing some actions or the other, you are doing the same thing like him, but at the same time you are showing who he is also. So the mimicry is a concept where two things are being served, and this concept is very much prevalent in those people during the interculturalization and the carnival times. The next one is like othering. Othering is coined by Gayatri Chakravarti, who coined the term in Can the Subaltern Speak? She defines othering as, it is defined by her as, a process by which the empire can define itself against those it colonizes, excludes, and marginalizes. They are pushed to the margins. That is where she is explaining them as othering. Okay, so these are the concepts which makes these people in the Caribbean island. And the next one is honor crimes, alcoholism, and education. Okay, when you take education for that matter, these people have got education in school, and these people have the first school, girls for the girls in the Trinidad. First school which has been started for the girls is in Trinidad, which is in Caribbean island. And the daughters and the people who are indentured, they are very much willing to send their daughters to these schools. And they want these people to learn English, standard English. They want them to forget their own Bhojpuri language because it had some trauma. They want them to forget that, but only in the third and the fourth generation started to remember that trauma because they had one imbalanced emotional symmetry which affected them once and again because their DNA got affected with one person, and that has been passed to the other person. Okay, so now honor crimes, alcoholism, and education. Education, I have told you, it has been started, and people started to get education, especially girl children started to get education. That is where Peggy Morgan says in her own Jahanjir. And the next one is honor crimes. Honor crimes, what is this? There is Gayatri Bahadur, she explains one character called Langi. Okay, she has got 35 wounds covered on her body and 18 places were cut. And she was hacked to death and beaten with cutlass and machete. Cutlass and machete is a what to say labor weapon. Okay, labor weapon which is used for them for the empowerment. So when they want to use it for the empowerment, they were using this cutlass and machete. Now it is disempowering them. This is again a hyphenated diaspora which is happening here. Like the thing which had for them to empower them is now making them to get disempowered. Okay, now for what reason Lange got punished? She has mentioned her husband to be Dogla. Dogla means mixed breed, and she says that her husband name is Badal, and she says that the word Dogla has got him affected, his ego and everything got affected. He started to hack her to death with the empowering act, whatever the instrument they had. With that, he attacked her and she finally succumbed to death. Okay, so this happened in that place, and this is how these people are killing their own wife. And some people killed their wife out of suspicious nature because women were less in number. Already I have told you, for 100 women it is 40 women. So it is like people had that suspicious issue and started to kill the women, saying that it is a honor killing and they don't want to have the women with other person. Next one is alcoholism. Rum is very much prevalent in Caribbean islands. Rum is a byproduct of sugar which was made from the fermented molasses of sugarcane. Initially, rum was used as a medicine. They gave rum as a medicine because their body was very much tired, and that is where they gave it as a medicine. Slowly, they introduced the alcohols for them, and slowly they introduced the ganja also for the marijuana for them. This marijuana and alcoholism, when they started to take, it is like a win-win situation for the Britishers. Why it is a win-win situation? They will fall into debt, and they have to stay in that particular plantation for a long time, and they can work for them, and they can get addicted, and almost all the time they need that alcohol from the colonizers. So this is the main attractive thing which they wanted to do with the alcoholism. The British people started to lure the men community in them. Next one is post-colonialism and subaltern in an alien land. See, this indentured diaspora or else Kalapani narratives, these people can be termed as the post-colonial text and the subaltern text. Post-colonialism, what is post-colonialism? The trauma is the main aspect of the post-colonialism, and you could see in the 4 books, though they are first generation, the third and the fourth generation, they are having the trauma inside them, and that is inflicting them almost all the time. And subaltern literature, what is meant by subaltern? Subaltern stands for the inferior rank or status, and few people say that subordination of class, caste, gender, race, language, and culture. Those groups in society who are subject to the hegemony of the ruling class. So I could really and strongly say that this can be classified under post-colonialism text and the subaltern text, and you can say that this is a subaltern in an alien land. Next one is freedom fighters. Freedom fighters, this you could see it in Totaram Sanadia's My 21 Years in the Fiji Island. I could have incorporated there, but since I had to say about this, I'm getting it into this point here. Freedom fighters like Mahatma Gandhi, Sarojini Naidu, these two people made this indenture system come to an end. How? They got a letter from Totaram Sanadia saying that they need one English lawyer to speak for their justice in Fiji land. Why? Because they have suffered this much. He has listed everything, and he has suffered, and he has listed out his suffering. And only because of that, he sent his lawyers there, and he comes to know about the indenture system and started to have a non-resistance towards indenture system. And these people started to voice out against it. And this, they had that anti indentured act inside India, and they started to give some petitions to the colonizers, and they started to implement so many things in India along with the independence of India. So only because of Mahatma Gandhiji and only because of Sarojini Naidu and some other freedom fighters, we people have been saved from the indentured system. Now we are getting into the Kalapani narrative, the crux, the narrative styles of the Kalapani narratives. So we have seen 4 books and their background and how it has been analyzed in the parts of their paragraphs and everything. Now, what is the narrative style? How they have told us the story, and how we have to take that narrative into consideration. Okay, the first technique they have used is introduction. For example, in the Totaram Sanadhya's book written by John Dunham Kelly, he prepares the people with the navigational headings, how to read this book, who should read this book, and some themes which is going to be there in the book. So introduction is the opening sentence of the narrative, and it will tell you who is telling the story. Is he overt or covert narrator? Is it first person, second person, or third person narrative? All these details, you will get it from the narrative technique, especially the introduction part. So that you can see it from my Fiji life in my 21 years of life in the Fiji island by Totaram Sanadhya's books. The next one is homodiegetic narration and heterodiegetic narration. Homodiegetic is the first person narrative. My 21 years in the Fiji island is a homodiegetic narration, which has got the first person narrative. He is the first hand experienced person of the indenture system. The next one is heterodiegetic, that is third person and the third person narrative. There we have the second generation and the fourth generation narrators, which you could see from the Peggy Morgan, Gaitra Bahadur, and also Rajendra Prasad's book. That will come under the heterodiegetic narration. Analepsis and the prolepsis. What is meant by analepsis and prolepsis? Analepsis means fighting back. One second. Analepsis means fighting back. The flashback. That means whatever is there in your memory, you fight back with that, and you want to come out of it. Okay, so it is like a flashback, linear narrative. You want to revisit your memory. So the memories of the characters and what it has got with the background, everything, you will revisit it and you want to fight with it, and that means your analepsis. You are writing in a narrative called analepsis, and you are telling what all has happened in the earlier times with the past tense. So analepsis, you have got it in the 4 books whichever I have mentioned: Totaram Sanadhya's, Rajendra Prasad, and Gaitra Bahadur's, and at last the Peggy Morgan's. So in all these books, you could see the analepsis prevalent as a flashback. And the next one is prolepsis. Prolepsis is flash forward. What is their present condition? For example, Totaram Sanadhya's present condition is he comes back to India. Though he is an outcast, he works along with Mahatma Gandhiji and fights for the indenture system. And even for Sunaria, she dies in that place. And what is the death age and everything is being crystal clear. And what Dida is doing after 110 years old, and she is giving interview to Peggy Morgan and she's narrating her incident. So this is the present flash forward. That is what they are doing in the present condition. Next one is testimonial. Here, the trauma, betrayal is being narrated. Testimonial narrative. Here, I would like to quote, "Can the Subaltern Speak?" by post-colonial theorist Gayatri Chakravarty's work. She says that there is no collective speech of the subaltern, including that of their lives and their stories, which has been narrated in their own voices and archived. She says that there is no collective speech of the subaltern. But actually, this was accepted in the early post-colonialism. But actually, after post-colonialism, that is after the early post-colonialism, it is not accepted, because we have got two books which has got the testimonial narrative: Munshi Rahman Khan, Jeevan Prakash, and Totaram Sanadia's My 21 Years in the Fiji Island. So all these things are the testimonial narrative which says that what she said is wrong. So the collective speech of the subaltern is not there, she says. But here we have got two testimonial narratives from the first-hand indentured experience. So this is, here he has told about the trauma, which I have already explained you while explaining about the book. Now I'm getting into the betrayal system. So betrayal, what are all the betrayals Sanadia has listed? I will just read it to you. Betrayal by Akritis, betrayal at depot, betrayal on the ship, betrayal on reaching plantations, betrayal of overseas assigning him work, betrayals from his own people. So all these betrayals are being shown in his narratives. Next one is allusion, archetypal, and animal imagery. Allusion sort of narrative in an allusion style. What is allusion? Indirect reference. So Ram and Sita comes back from the exile. This is an allusion to Tears in Paradise, where Prasad and his wife comes back to India. Okay, though they are not termed as an outcast because they are not the first indentured people, they are the third descendants of the Girmitiyas. So they are coming back. This is more like compared with Ramayana. And the leaves of the sugar cane, people will always say these leaves of the sugar cane will tell us their plight, will tell our generations the plight of us. And the hoes and the knives which they had in their hand for their empowerment in that particular land, it became their constant companion almost all the time. It is not the people who are constant companion for them. It is only the hoes and the knives. So it shows that these people are subjugated. This is an disempowerment. Okay, they thought like they are going to be empowered with that, but disempowerment happens for them at last till their life of death. And then archetypal imagery. The next one is typical example. This means like typical example. Here Sanadia, he even subtitled his book My Own Ram Story. That means he compares his life with Ramayana, Ram, and how he got he is the king of Ayodhya, and the banishment of Ram, seeing his exile in Fiji, and the recovering his wife Sita, and perseverance of Girmatya. All these things gives him the typical example of Rama, and he has entitled his own book as My Own Rama Story. Next one is animal imagery. Prasad says that, Rajendra Prasad says that Girmityas were herded like animals. Kennel-like living accommodation referred as coolie lions are given to them. And white people throw the biscuits and they will say that this is a dog biscuit. And black, people who are black, they are made to sit along with the pigs. Okay, stating that there is no difference between this and that. So they will have that animal imagery almost all the time. And he will shoo away the animals. Okay, they will have the sort of see when these coolies pass by their verandas or pass by their land, they will shoo them like an animals. Okay, please don't come by this side. They will shoo them away. So all these things are derogatory for them, and they think that they are something very bad. They themselves start to lose their own confidence. It is hard for them to fight back against all these things. Next one is realism and magical realism. Narratives are present in the Kalapani narratives. The first one is realism. Realism, there is one suffering of Kunti and Narayani. See, emotions are real, and realism portrays the real life incidents and real pain, real suffering, real emotions. Okay, so the Sanatya's book shows about the dukkha, okay, kasht, and even J.W. Burton says that it is a narak. And what are all the instances Sanadhya has put? Though Sanadhya's narration is testimonial, he has got subtext within that, and so many stories are there. And in the women's perspective, he has recited one story of Kunti and Narayani, two people which are very, very important for this realism example. Kunti, she is married and she is fooled by the Akritis, and she belongs to the Lakpur district, and she is 20 years of age. And when indentured, where the Sardars and overseas tried to rape her. And the 10th April 1912, and Kunti ran and jumped into the river, and Jaydev, a person, rescues her. And she told her husband that she is not going to work. But the husband was taken into care by this colonizers, and he was beaten like anything. And she informed a newspaper called Bharat Mitra to show, to voice out her problems, and that led to the investigation. It prompted the Indian government to come back to India, I mean Fiji, to revisit what is happening with the people of indentured. And the government of Fiji came to know about it, and the government of India pressurized these Fiji people to free the indentured system in Fiji. Okay, and the women were suffering a lot in the hands of the people, and this has come to a notice because of this Kunti's character, and she was so very courageous to say about this. People are courageous, okay? People said whatever they feel, and they had that non-resistance feel, and they shown what they want to do, but these people didn't accept their plea. That is the problem here. And there is another character called Narayani. She was pregnant, and once after she delivers a baby, that baby is being told that the baby got died. And when this person came to know that the baby got died, she was in utter disaster, because that was her fourth baby which has died. And usually when a pregnant lady delivers a baby, she has to be given 3 months leave. But this person, since the baby got died, the colonizers thought that your baby got died and you have to come for work. But her health and her mental condition didn't allow for all these things. She told that she cannot come for work. These people went to the house of hers, they beated her like anything, and they came out. She registered a complaint in the court. There was a court session for her, and she went there, and people took her in the stretcher. She can't even walk. She was taken in a stretcher. But in that, the verdict was like the overseer didn't do any mistake. That was the verdict given to them. And after listening to that, Narayani got literally mad, and she lost her senses. Even she couldn't even know who she is. That much pain these people underwent. And this is the realism example from Totaram Sanadia's My 21 Years in the Fiji Island. Magical realism. I have already told you about, I'm going to tell you about a folk tale which is told by Saranga. Saranga folk tale, which you could see it from Peggy Mohan's Jahangir. So in that Saranga folk tale, there is like male monkey and female monkey. There is two monkeys, and the female monkey jumps into the river, okay, and transforms into a female. But the male monkey commits suicide, and female monkey lifts up the male monkey and jumps into the cremation fire. And after jumping into the cremation fire, both are reborn. And the man named is Sada Birji, and the girl's name is Saranga. This shows the empowerment, women empowerment. Okay, the women started to get used with the system where the men had to depend on her. So that was the magical realism. And she says that every woman is a Saranga, every Dida is a Saranga, every Sunaria is a Saranga, whichever is there in the Jahangir book. Okay, the next one is the predominant thing. She compares Rama and Sita. Rama and Sita are tested by fire. Likewise, Dida and Sunaria were tested with water. So this is the comparison which she wants to give for magical realism. Magical realism, there is no hierarchy between real and unreal. And that is where these are the example for the magical realism narrative in the Kalapani narratives. The next one is metaphor. Metaphor is quite common in almost all narratives. Here I have taken only 3 metaphors. The first one is ship. Ship is the process of transculturalization. Earlier relationship were wiped out and newer relationship were forged. That is the collective identity as Jahaji Bais and Jahaji Behen started into the ship, and people started to have that sort of cultures and the relationship with the other people, forgetting their caste, whatever they had it in their own places. Next one is bird, caged bird. You know what I would say. Caged bird is they feel that they are under the shackles of the colonizers. They cannot free themselves, though they ask for it, though they resist for it, they cannot get it. So they are compared with a caged bird. And the next one is people trees. People trees has got long roots. So people in Caribbean, people in Fiji, they all dreamt of this people tree, like how it is being rooted and how long it stands with India. I would have done that. I should not have come for the indentured system. All these plea, all the trauma and the betrayal, this makes them to long for this people tree. And the travel also makes them to embark, explore and return. Okay, and you could see it from the holy women, the Odyssey of the indentured, that Gaitra Bahadur says about the word called Odyssey. Odyssey means travel. Okay, first generation affects the subsequent generation. That is the meaning, and that is where she has written it in the title of the book. Next one is elegiac tone. Elegiac tone is a poem or a song which is in a sad tone about the death of the other person. So I have told about many deaths and many disasters which has happened. So it is mostly having an elegiac tone in the narrative. Next one is framed and the polyphony. Framed narratives can also be told as Chinese boxes, story within a story. There will be, I mean, even Kunti and Narayani's story is a story within a story where Totaram Sanadhya's narrative, I mean, first person narrative was there. And in that, we have the Kunti and Narayani story. And when you take polyphony, polyphony means many voice. Many people will have a voice. In Jahanjin, Peggy Mohan's Jahanjin, we have 4 people narrating the incident. Even in Rajendra Prasad, we will have many voices speaking about the things which have happened for the indentured people. The next one is post-memory blackouts. I will give you one quote from Peggy Mohan. Blackouts always had that effect on the family. They seemed to trigger memories and then curtain fell. They never talked about who else had these blackouts too. What is in the blackouts? Actually, to say it in our own way, I can say like, see, when you are drinking a cup of coffee, you're thinking about something and suddenly people may call you, but you cannot respond to them because you're struck with one thought. That is called as blackouts. People always, though they are first generation, though they are second generation, third generation, and fourth generation, they had this post-memory blackouts. They will revisit their trauma again and again, especially the first and the second generation revisited this memory again and again, and they had this frequent blackouts which tortured their mind like anything. They couldn't fully concentrate on anything. That is where in the Prasad's word, I have already told you, they have lost their emotional symmetry. So the DNA is passing from one person to the other person, and the blackouts were coming in their own hereditary and in their own gene, and it affects till the last. Okay, so this is the post-memory blackouts. And coming back to the last slide, the wrongs committed in the past cannot be exonerated, but they need to be revealed. So how we can reveal? We cannot say that the past should not have happened. Something has happened, okay? But they need to be revealed. Many of us, even now, don't know what is called this indenture system and what is this diaspora and how migration studies can come under this, how the post-colonialism and subaltern literature can come under this, and how can this text be brought under this. Many of us don't know, but they need to be revealed. So the critical appreciation and the secondary sources for these people are less in number. When we have a research, empirical research, and some journal writings on these particular authors, I think it would make us to understand about the recent study, what is happening in Caribbean, Fiji, Natal, and other places. Many places we have indentured Indians, but I have taken only these 2. And when you explore on all these topics, you can reveal the wrong things which has happened with the crossing of the Kalapani and what is the taboo which is happening in Indian society. So with this, I come to an end. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And this is my personal details.
Dr. Praveena ma'am, our sincere appreciation for gracing this occasion with your presence in your busy schedule. And really, we comprehended new things on this topic, and you made it interesting, ma'am. Thank you again. The forum is now open for discussions. You can ask your queries too.
Good morning, Praveena ma'am.
Yes, good morning.
Ma'am, first of all, thank you for this wonderful session. I have a small query, ma'am.
Yes.
I would like to know what is the basic difference between war narrative, prison narrative, and Kalapani narrative? Because
Sorry, what is the first one?
Ma'am, war narrative, prison narrative, and Kalapani narrative.
See,
Because
that is like entirely it is different, ma'am. Actually, Kalapani concerns with the sea, okay, and there is one Kalapani which deals with cellular jail. That is a different genre, and a Malayalam movie has been taken based on that cellular jail. But this concerns only with the water, sea water, crossing of the sea water.
Only with the sea water, because what I felt, or whatever my little knowledge I have seen there are certain things that are also present in prison narrative also. Like metaphors and the narrative, that means first generation, second generation, or third generation narrative. So can we take that both are overlapping, or only a distinction? I mean,
you can say that it is overlapping, but only few details can overlap. But actually, this is a completely different genre, ma'am, which deals with only the crossing of Kalapani. Here, kindly don't mix up with the prison narratives and the war narratives. That is entirely different. But the name Kalapani is there in everywhere. That is where I was telling you. There is a name of a cellular jail means like Kalapani, and that is where you are narrating it about the prison jail, prison narratives. So it is totally different when it is being compared with the crossing of Kalapani.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Few details can overlap, but actually this is different and that is different.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm Ridhima Villa this side.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am, for this nice presentation, first of all.
Thank you.
Yeah, ma'am, I just want to ask one thing. You said, ki, basically in this your presentation, there was like whenever the people they are migrated basically from the two reason, either happy or maybe the for this indentured system, slave system, right?
Yes.
But if I'm not wrong, after the Immigration Act of 1965, so there is a sudden growth of immigration from India to the Western countries,
Yes.
specifically in case of USA, America.
Yes.
Where most of the people they migrated because of this professionalism.
Yes.
Either they want to get education or they want to get, basically the education was their main motive.
Yes.
So do you think, can we look their process of migration as indentured? What is your view about it?
No, ma'am. Actually, that is not indenture system. Indenture system got ended with Mahatma Gandhi itself. But as of now, it is only migration study. Diaspora is happening. Indenture system is contract system that has got ended. But that trauma and the betrayal is there even in the generation of theirs. That is what I want you all to ponder into it and do some research on it.
Okay. So basically, in the diaspora system, obviously, whenever the diaspora happens, there are some conflict happens.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Usually, when there is interculturalism, there will be some conflict. There will be some migration issues and other things will be there. But when it comes like a forced laborship, it all the more aggravates it. But actually now it is not there, but it was there, and the trauma is there in the people who had that first-hand experience.
Okay, and there was one more. There was one presentation regarding the narrative style.
Yes.
Different kind of narrative style in the chosen text which you have presented. So, can you suggest some good books where we can get the reference of the narrative styles in the text?
Ma'am, actually, we don't have enough secondary sources for all these things.
Mm-hmm.
I've already quoted one Anjali Singh's critical appreciation of all the 4 books. In that, you can see the narrative style of all these 4 people. Only from there, I have taken my narrative styles. For
In journal, I am asking, not for this 4.
Journal, we have many journals now, but actually the limited secondary sources are there. If you could type it out in the online, I think you can get it many things now.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Ma'am, this is Jason. First of all, the session you conducted, was really you had a tone and you conducted it throughout the same, and you created an interest in all of us into intellectual diaspora. Ma'am, 2 questions. One is, you said that women, when you were saying about assimilation and that men had held close, held close to the Gitas, whereas women had not. Was it because they felt they were discriminated? This is one question. And the second thing is, for some texts, we would not have secondary sources. But there's always an option when we can think about it, ponder, and also look into other theories and write our own, right? Should we always rely on picking topics or texts only based on heavy secondary thought sources? If not, we will not touch it. Yeah.
Yes. Sir, based on the question you have asked, the first question is definitely based on the discrimination. The women started to go for the foreign countries. They have opted only for that because women basically need independence. Liberty, when it is not given in any form, they want to break and go out of it. That is the first answer I would like to give. And the second one is, you were asking about the secondary sources. Secondary sources, yes, it is helpful, but at the same time, I really accept the point of view you have told. Based on the books we read, we can also formulate our own theory. Let us not stick into post-colonialism. Let us not stick into migration theories, diaspora and other things. We can also stick into Edward Said, the traveling theory and other theories. We can create and we can also formulate. Both are possible, sir.
Yeah, ma'am, no, because, our students, what they do is they pick or identify books only if there are secondary sources.
Yes.
I think, that's okay, that's good, not wrong. But should we just, it's like, if we don't have options, we don't take some wonderful books. See, for example, your selection of a book today, and, it was a very different or a different perspective.
Yes.
So we can take something and we can work on it. We are research scholars.
I may be your inspiration, and you can make the people to ponder into it.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Any other questions, please?
Ma'am, good morning, ma'am. I have a doubt, ma'am. Ma'am, you said that indexer system came to an end with Mahatma Gandhi, but even right now, some of the people unknowingly get trapped into that contract system. What do you say about that, ma'am?
Even now?
Yes, ma'am. Unknowingly, they get trapped into some contract system.
Tell me which region is getting trapped with that?
Ma'am, almost in every places, ma'am. Unknowingly, they get trapped into contract basis.
Into contract basis, but actually based on the political system and based on the rules and regulations given by the people, it has got stopped with Mahatma Gandhiji. The indenture system got stopped because even now we have internally we get laborers from Bihar. cheap labor. Since they quote money in a less way, we get laborers from Bihar. And likewise, if they are willing to go to the Western countries, yes, definitely they can go. But now the indenture system is not into action at all. They can anyway break it and they can come out. Maybe they are not aware of it. I don't know.
Thank you.
If you could specify which place is going out and which place is still now having the indenture system, it would be better for me to understand.
Okay, thank you.
As of now, whatever I have researched, I found that hereafter indenture system cannot come into practice. Likewise, how we have got independence, nobody can now have authority over us. Likewise, it is not possible now, but if they are having, then they are against the system.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your insights with us. Your presentation and speech were both very informative and well delivered. Thank you, ma'am. As a crucial part of the session, I'm happy to invite Mrs. B. Akshaya, Research Scholar of the English Department, to convey the heartfelt gratitude through vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. As we conclude this enlightening session, we begin by expressing our deepest gratitude to Lord Almighty for guiding and blessing us throughout this gathering. We extend our heartfelt thanks to Dr. J. Pravina, Assistant Professor of English, Ethiraj College, for dedication and the generosity they displayed in sharing their knowledge in detail about Kalapani. Thank you so much, ma'am. We would like to cherish and thank our Secretary, Mr. S. Prem Kumar Rajasingh, Principal Dr. B. Jawahar Samuel, Research Head Dr. M. Beulah Hemlata, Coordinator Dr. J. Mary Stella, and Organizing Secretary Mr. T. Jude Livingston for the immense support. We would like to thank all the staffs and well-wishers of this session. We are grateful to all the participants for their active engagement and enthusiasm, as your presence has enriched this session immensely. Thank you all for joining us, and may we continue to be blessed as we carry forward the wisdom gained from today's session. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.